Previously on the Seventh Valkyrie, Meridia's prowess on the night of the Edaran attack earns her the admiration of soldiers and civilians alike, but Jossun's plan rolls on. What does he have in store for Rene? Find out next on the Seventh Valkyrie. However, Jossun's booming voice cut through the crowd. Their sacrifice was not in vain. We were able to save scores of women and children and the elderly that were caught up into the attack and bring them into protective custody under the peaceful banner of Edaran. They will be taken care of until we can find a safe way to return them to their homes. That is, if they have a home to return to. Jossun looked across the river. The smoke still climbed high in the air, and boats patrolled the waters. He looked almost wistful for a moment and then shook his head. How long will it take before we realize that enough is enough? How long must we live in fear of the chaos on our doorstep, of a city run by thieves and murderers just a stone's throw away from our peaceful port town? Do we have to wait for yet more men to die? For more attacks around our great nation? Are we to wait until all the peace that we have fought for, that so many died for, that our own hero sacrificed himself for? Are we to wait until that is all washed away and the good people of Edaran drowned along with it? The murmurs grew once more, and now those who had teary eyes and those who had angry ones now both muttered curses as one. Jossun could feel them, and he stood tall. No longer. We will not live in fear of uncertainty anymore. On this, the 18th day of winter in the 7th year of the wolf, I declare the violent, unprovoked attack on Edaran peacekeeping forces as a national tragedy. I name it a crass rejection of the Treaty of Heaven's Gates which brought the war to a close. And so, with a heavy heart and heavy shoulders and the full force of the Edaran military, we will move for the surrender of the so-called Old City. And we will not stop until we have disbanded these four families and seen their leaders sent to trial and executed. We will settle for nothing less. The scattered cheers filled in now, building off of each other, beginning to swell, and with that, Jossun stood, placing his fist over his chest. We are now once again under the watch of the wolf. Will you join me? And all around Meridia, all across the crowd, people made the same fist and joined him as one in making the clawing mark of the wolf. And as Jossun began to call out, as one they responded. We will fight for our gods. But they will bring us glory. We will fight for our kings and the day of justice. We will fight for our law and the deliverance from evil. And we will fear no monster. For no beast can break our spirit. And then the crowd erupted into cheers and thumping spears and stomping feet, and Jossun drank in the fire that he had stoked. Later that evening, Meridia sat down at her desk to think, gazing at the carving of the Iron Wolf. What would he do now? War preparations were underway, but Meridia hadn't reported to High Command and no one had contacted her. Out on the front porch, Wells smoked a furolo, and Meridia had caught glimpses of men in other buildings again. She returned her gaze to the carving, which remained silent. The wolf had never spoken to her as such, so that was nothing new. Some people did claim that the carvings would wake up and talk to them, but even Meridia wasn't that religious. I can't tell if your instincts have dulled or if you're just getting used to me sneaking in here. The false wolf's voice had come from the kitchen, and it startled the shit out of Meridia. He was facing the back door, his back turned to her. What the fuck are you doing here? Meridia hissed, quickly silencing her voice and immediately walking over to the blinds to make sure that they were all drawn. Then she checked all of the windows around the house, and then finally returned to the kitchen to face him. His hair was shaggy, his beard a few days past trimming, and his eyes were bloodshot. But they were still sharp, maybe the result of the acrid leaf he was chewing. Fucking hell, Val. When was the last time you slept? Have you slept since I saw you last? Who knows? It all fades together sometimes. Sometimes I even still worry. Sometimes I even wonder if I really did die back there at Heaven's Gate and all the rest of this is some punishment for that. Well, you seem very alive to me, Meridia hissed, and very capable of tipping off every single one of the fucking soldiers in the city in the way you're at. The men left when you reported to command. No one saw me come in. Don't think I've lost the ability to move in here unseen, though. Fuck, I wonder the point of it all now, more and more by the day. It wasn't like all this sneaking around has gotten us anywhere except exactly where that traitor wanted us. Val, I don't know if this is exactly where he used Edaran soldiers as bait, Meridia, the false wolf said, eyes never leaving the door. It was all an act, except for the fact that we've got fucking hundreds dead to pay for it. That's pretty damn real. Meridia was silent. So you've started to put the pieces together too. His tone was even, just chewing his whipwater willow. I was watching. Soldiers were mobilized long before the fighting started. Fuck, half the fleet was on the water even before the first burst of activity in the old city. I guess they needed a reason to go across as peacekeepers, and that's where the Machine King's men came in. Fuck. They said they'd have the animals at each other's throats. That was what... and it worked. You know, they say that there's a kinship to the Freelanders, that they're all loyal to each other somehow, but I should have known if the Machine King's money can make Edarans join with Thwarps to slaughter innocent children and mins, I should have known it could make an X turn on their own kind. He let out a dark chuckle. Maybe we're not so different from them like that. Is that what you think that they're after? Drawing the old city into some sort of confrontation? Confrontation? Meridia, were you listening to the same speech I was? They're not planning a confrontation, they're planning an extermination. They needed an example, something they could use to start the war again and try to finish the job after Heaven's Gate. Machine King organizes attacks all across the nation, then the prison break and he gets people all on edge. Then hundreds of soldiers are killed in a peacekeeping mission. Of course the old city will put up a fight. We know they won't go lightly, and suddenly we all race to war again. The false wolf fell silent, and Meridia could swear that in the silence she could hear her mind humming out loud. She had started to put the pieces together like he did, but there were still details missing, something blocking her brain from accepting it as truth. Something didn't add up, or did it? Meridia let out a frustrated breath, trying to figure out a way forward, but then the false wolf moved and started heading towards the door. Where are you going? He breathed in like he was going to answer, but then he just reached for the doorknob. It was halfway open when Meridia slammed it shut in front of him. What the fuck are you doing? And how many times am I going to have to ask you that today? People are out there watching. You're going to blow our cover, and then goodbye to any plan. He turned back to her. So, you're gonna have the whole city down on us. Goodbye any chance to stop this. Goodbye any chance of leads on the Machine King. Not to mention you'd be lucky to make it out fucking alive. He was silent, with his hand still on the doorknob. Then, his hand clenched into a fist and slid off, hanging by his side. For the first time since their fight in command, when his hounds had been cornered, she saw him starting to falter. He stepped aside and put his head against the doorway. What's the point, Meridia? The Machine King, this new Edaran I don't recognize at all, and the Thwarps, they're all working together now. Who am I supposed to fight? Who am I supposed to kill? Can you give me that answer? Val, calm down. I know things are kind of confusing right now, but we gave everything, Meridia. We gave everything that we had in that war. Look at me. Everything. Everything we had and everything that we were. Our humanity, our decency, our blood, all just to save one more Edaran life from the end of the world. He pulled back and looked at her. Fuck, or maybe we just thought like that. Maybe we gave everything. And now this? They're sending Edarans to die just to start a war. For what? Why? Val, listen to me. First of all, shut the fuck up. He quirked an eyebrow at her. Good. And second, look at me. We can blow this case open. We have tons of evidence. All we need to do is we deliver it to Central. We let the people know and we let justice run its course. They've violated dozens of codes, and there's a paper trail. You and I can do this the right way. No, don't give me that look. Don't give me that look. If they had the support they needed for this in public, they would have just done it straight up. People don't want a war. There has to be some reason they've hidden it. And any time something's hidden, you can make a whole lot of people run for the hills by making it public. He laughed, but this one wasn't his derisive, pointed, bordering on hateful laugh. It seemed more like bemused disbelief. So what, you're just gonna tell on him? And you really think that'll work? Look, Val, I'm not going to lie to you. I was realizing it this morning, it was all coming together, but you were right. You were right. The idea of corruption running so deep in Edaran, it made me want to stay in bed. It made me want to never get up. I was dreading this. But if we have a chance to protect Edaran, to protect a better Edaran than the one that we got from the end of the war, then I can't give up. Not as long as the wolf watches over us. She felt like she had nearly won him back over, but as soon as she'd mentioned the wolf, she saw Val's eyes go dark again. Meridia, what would you do if the wolf wasn't watching? If you knew he wasn't up there or all around or wherever you say he's fucking watching from, what would you do? Would you continue on if you didn't know that out there the wolf is giving you strength? She crossed her arm. Well, it's an interesting question, but I wouldn't have to. I can always feel him out there, and he'll always be there for me. He gave that sick laugh again, the one bordering on hateful. I wish I had your faith. I really wish I believed in the Iron Wolf as much as you did. I don't say that just to fuck with you. I seriously wish that I could believe in anything the way that you believe in the wolf. And with that, he began to head up towards the second floor. What? Where are you going, Val? You gonna take a nap? No, I'm gonna leap from this window to the next house, and you're gonna be out there training so that their eyes are on you. Or I'm gonna be caught and I'm gonna have to kill a lot of people on the way out. Is that some sort of threat? No. Just being honest. That's probably how it would happen. And what after that? We need to plan, we need to be organized. What are we doing? Yeah, I'm sure you'll do just fine with that part. But with your wolf to guide you and all that. Val, it's not about... But then they had reached the window, and he quickly began to slide it up. I'm gonna be leaving. You should get out in the backyard. Oh, no, I'm not leaving forever. I know where to find you. Meridia glanced over him up and down and then turned to the door to follow his instructions. But before she got to the stairs, she turned back around to face him. You know, Val, just because the wolf is watching doesn't mean he's gonna do everything for us. He's the one that gives us the strength to carry on, to keep fighting even against all odds, to give all that we have. We follow his example. We don't just sit around waiting for him to save us. I'm insulted that you'd think that I'm just sitting here waiting for someone else to control my life. No. I follow him and I honor him. He looked back to her. So, what would the Iron Wolf do right now if he was going to be leading by example? Well, I think he would persevere. I think he would keep going and fighting, and he wouldn't stop until the Machine King and all the bastards who worked with him, Edaran or not, were fucking dead. His eyes were unblinking, unmoving, and though she couldn't see any sign of it, Meridia hoped that her words had reached him. But then he turned back to the window, and Meridia knew the conversation was over. She slammed the door hard to let him and all of the watchers know that she was outside, and when she finally returned from her training session, he was gone, with an empty window the only trace he had left behind. Want to know what happens next? Join us on Patreon to become a hero of Edaran and get early access to episodes along with bonus features, director's commentary, and the full Tab to Archive. You can also find other ways to support us at the links in the description, and we will see you next week.